So what we want to do is cultivate cultivate a capacity for kindness. So, close your eyes. Take a few moments to breathe in and breathe out. Alrighty. Welcome to another Healthy Gamer GG stream, everybody. My name is Alok Kanoja. Just a reminder that everything we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken, is just for educational or entertainment purposes only. What do y'all think about lights? Is that good? Yeah, let's just do that. Just a reminder that although I'm a psychiatrist, nothing we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken as medical advice. Everything is for educational or entertainment purposes only. If y'all have a concern or question, please go see a licensed professional. So today we're doing, I think, week 7 of our creator group. So we're going to hop right in and check in with folks and see how they're doing. All right, let's go. Hello.
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 We are live, just FYI.
Okay, I decided to stop telling an awkward story so the segue wasn't terrible. Because it's happened every single time. So
let me see. Okay, here we go. Then I got to turn this on. Yeah, so how y'all doing today?
I'm frazzled. I'm like beginning the moving process, so it's a lot.
Yeah, I'll join Zell with frazzled. Frazzled's a good word. Overwhelmed is my word today, but I'm not too bad in this moment.
Cool. So it sounds like
yeah. I been really distracted, I guess, because yesterday my cat woke me up by choking, and then I had to give her the Heimlich maneuver, and and then I kind of spent all of yesterday just
Sorry, what?
trying to not, throw up out of panic. And then I did throw up, so at least we got that out of the way.
You said, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
there was Heimlich maneuver?
Yeah, I had to Heimlich maneuver my cat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Do you want
wild.
to see the cat?
Sure. Do y'all want to see the cat?
You always want to see the cat.
It's a Twitch stream. Who doesn't want to see the cat?
Oh my
Yes,
God.
So
Is,
cute.
is it furry or is it a chonker?
Yeah, kind of both. Her name's Captain Wobbles because she's a wobbly cat. She has a brain condition, so it's like really ableist to name her after her brain condition. But I acknowledge that, and I'm sure I'll be judged accordingly when I die. But she doesn't live a very active lifestyle because she wobbles and she doesn't run or do exercise or anything. So she's a little lumpy, but also she's very fluffy. But also she's a good baby. Yes, she is. And you're gonna chew your food next time, aren't you? Yes, you are. There you go. So.
Yeah, wow. Okay. So I don't know if that constituted check-ins, but let's do. I apologize, by the way, for not sending I didn't send a recap after last week, right? I don't think I did.
No.
But
And I forgot homework.
it's okay. I just wanted to start. We can check. Actually, let's start with check-ins. Do y'all want to kind of more formally check in, or do y'all feel okay with what we kind of did? I don't know if other people did do homework or.
What was the
Well-
homework supposed to be?
It was about what does success mean to us, or is that from last week? No, that was last week.
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah. And I thought last week was, or well, 2 weeks ago, right? Because we took last week off. 2 weeks ago, I think it was something about more concretely, like what does success look like to you, or what do you want to accomplish, or something like that. I'm sorry, I was at TwitchCon over the weekend. I don't know if y'all were there, but it was a little frazzled still. But
We're all frazzled together.
so it seems like today is frazzled week, which is totally normal. So now I think if y'all didn't do, if you want to share stuff from the homework, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I'm happy to kind of offer some direction as soon as we're kind of done checking in. But do y'all want to go ahead and check in and just tell us how you've been over the last couple of weeks? And if you want to share stuff from the homework or any thoughts that you had about our time together here, kind of where you are after, how many weeks has this been? I think this is week 7, but we've met 4 or 5 times, right?
Yeah, because we took
Yes.
Yeah.
one off for PAX and
So-
one off for TwitchCon.
So let's do this actually for check-ins. So why don't you all share with us a little bit about where you were when you started and where you are now and where you would like to go.
I guess I'll start because I feel like in the beginning where I was like kind of like desperate for an answer, I would say. And like I was kind of like, I know that there are these obstacles that are in my way, and I need the tools in order to break through them. And I think where I ended up was that it wasn't necessarily that I needed the tools to break the things around me. It was more that like there were more answers that I needed from myself before I begin to actually tackle the things that are around me, because maybe rather than seeing all these obstacles around me, maybe, like I'd be more able to navigate them if I had some of these I guess internal matters settled, I guess. And so I think the thing for me now is like I understand, I think, better that I think specifically I haven't had to really search within myself to find answers before, because I've always been in a position where I'm told to answer the things around me. And so now it's more like I have to start developing what these answers are for myself, and figuring that side of me out now, and I think it's scary, and there's a lot of things happening concurrently in my life that have made that process, I think, more stressful and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Zell.
Thank you. I don't even know where to start. I feel like I've not like told you a lot of actually where my life is right now. And so it's something I do a lot is it's not so much pretending I'm fine. I just keep a lot of things back because I feel like they're not important to people. But today I realized like doing that is actually not very helpful to myself, because if people don't have information, then how can they help you or talk to you or, understand things? So when we kind of started this whole thing, I'm going to try and make this like short. when we first started this whole thing, I had sold my house that I bought and been living in for about 10 years, and moved back in with my parents and started the process of buying a house in Portugal and getting my residency visa for Portugal, which my interview is on Monday. So when we started this, I just moved, like, this room I'm in is down the end of my parents' garden. It's like their summer house room, which is normally got like chairs where they read books, and my mum does watercolor painting and like, yeah, and now she's been pushed out. So yeah, I'm back in with my parents, which took a lot of adjusting, especially like as a content creator, when I'm used to being on my own and like shutting a door and recording and getting work done. So it's kind of been a whole adjustment of that I cannot, coming to terms with that I cannot be the things I wanted to start. I've not even been able to start moving back in with my parents. It's like been a whole adjustment period. And I feel like this whole journey's been a little bit of an up and a down. But what I've realized is that by actually not doing those things, I've realized I was trying to push myself into creating content again. I was going back into old ways of thinking I had to create certain content again to people please. And I'm constantly like doing this. It's like a sliding scale. Like I'm always going back between that. My dog just got diagnosed with diabetes today. He's got a heart condition as well, and he's on lots of medication, and he's been waking me up all night, so I've not really been sleeping. And yeah, like when Zell was like, I'm frazzled, I'm like, yeah. Today has been one of those days where I've actually gone, you're trying to do a lot, like the fact that you're still streaming regularly and like keeping that together is all right. Like stop so much stress. And also I've been trying to like start and create this content when actually as soon as I move to Portugal and I get there, my content's going to change again. So I don't even know why I was trying to even like do something, because we're buying an old farmhouse that needs rebuilding out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, that's my content's going to change again. I want to make my own personal retreat and live in the mountains. So yeah, I didn't tell any of you that whole time. I'm like, I don't know why, but yeah, that's where I am at.
I mean, to that end, before we started all of this, just about a couple weeks before, my mom had her 74th birthday, and that's when I got to see her for like the first time since Christmas. But I've only seen her a couple of times because of COVID. I was actually genuinely terrified that I would be the one to give it to her, and she's immunocompromised and not well, and so I spent a good like 3 years not being around her, and in that time I was making plans to move from Toronto to somewhere in British Columbia, uh, you know, possibly Alberta, like somewhere out west, because it's just I wanted to be out west. I still have a goal someday to go out there, but I saw my mom, and I realized that she's not exactly doing cartwheels or anything like that. She's definitely gotten older, and she can't handle things the way she can or used to anyway. And it might also be a cultural thing. I don't know, but um, as much as she was like, go do what you want, go live where you want, all that stuff, like I feel like in Eastern families, you kind of have this like social obligation to take care of your parents more. So I don't know. I mean, that is it's almost a stereotype maybe than a true thing. I mean, I'm not saying Western families don't, but like I just determined I changed my mind about everything, and I have decided that I'm going to be moving like 3 hours north out of Toronto to. It's definitely a more secluded area. There's nature and everything. It's great. I'm not married to the place, but I'm not gonna move in with my folks. But I'm definitely gonna, live like within 10 minutes. And luckily, they're putting down fiber internet, so I can still stream because that's kind of a big deal. But yeah, I feel like if I don't spend time with my mom, in her latter years, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. It's going to eat me alive. And I found purpose in that because I felt kind of aimless on that, but at the same time, getting that done is a completely different thing. Because I mean, housing prices in Canada are, I mean, just as stupid as like housing prices in the U.S. They're especially in Ontario. It's like chewing a brick. You might as well just chew a brick. I mean, one of them is going to be easier, and I think the brick's easier, honestly. And I just want to rent a place. I don't want to buy anything. I mean, that's not. I'm not the market for that. But yeah, so yeah.
So I'm noticing kind of like a theme today, which is there you are trying to live your life. You've got goals. There's streaming to do. And like what gets in the way is life. Right? And just to kind of touch on this a little bit. So I think this is fantastic. I'm optimistic for today. Because I think the thing that I would put to y'all is like, when I want to do something, how do I deal with life being in the way? Whether that's a mom who you may not have an endless amount of time with, whether that's living your whole life listening to what other people tell you to do and then sort of recognizing, hey, I need to figure it out on my own. Or it's something as simple as, I loved what Ruby said, which is like, oh, I haven't shared this with anyone because it's not important to people. And this is where, if we were on week 1, I would ask everyone, is it important to you that you know where Ruby lives? And y'all may have said like, yes, of course it's important to me. And like, that sort of like is the polite thing to say, but I would even go as far as to say that whether Ruby lives in the UK or Portugal, like, doesn't really make a difference to me.
I think
And
the real answer is like it doesn't matter where you live. Are you happy with where you live?
absolutely.
So.
Right? And the other thing is that, is it okay for Ruby to share things that aren't important to us? Is it okay for her to share things because it's important to her? That she doesn't have to share based on the value it brings to people outside of ourselves, which honestly is so much of how we live life. And this is where Ruby a couple weeks ago was like, I didn't think I understood Zell. Well, it sounds like maybe in the same way that you've been thinking, okay, is this important to other people? Zell has been living his whole fucking life doing what's important to other people. And now he comes to us and he says, I don't even know what's important to me. And he mentioned one emotion. Did y'all catch what that was? How do you feel?
I don't even remember.
How do you feel, Zell, about not knowing what you want out of life?
Not good. It doesn't
Right?
feel good.
He said scared.
Oh,
He's scared. Right? It's okay. Y'all don't have to. That's what I love. Sometimes I like it that instead of doing homework, which y'all have a chance to like think through, putting y'all on the spot sometimes brings out more emotions that you may not be aware of. So I think for today, if y'all are open to it, and by the way, I kind of want to say, I also want to just touch on one thing that I really appreciate. And I think this is why we do group work is for, Ruby to understand that she can share things that aren't important to us. That's okay. That she matters. And for Zell was kind of saying like, and I'm really glad that Zell, mentioned this, but he was like, I came in looking for answers. And I realized that like, I don't need answers from the outside. I need answers from the inside. I have to look from within. Right? Like that's what he said. And here's this try-hard Korean kid, podcasts at Riot, OTV, trying so hard. And now after 5 weeks with y'all, he's like, I need to look for answers from within. Soon he's going to have like a meditation calendar. And we'll co-lead retreats in Ruby's place in the mountains where people will go, where East Asian kids will go to discover themselves after they've had overbearing parents.
Probably an industry in that.
Yeah, believe me, if we weren't doing that, this is what we'd be doing. Either that or some kind of, retreat center where people come with their Indian parents to manage generational differences.
That's a thing.
Yeah. And who you're going to marry and why aren't you married yet? And all that stuff.
And she just wants grandkids. I'm like, no, like that. I can't even support myself. Come on.
Yeah. Right. So I think we've got a lot to cover. I think, so I would toss out a couple of topics. One is we can ask Ruby a little bit about what's going on in Portugal and whether it's okay if it's not important to us, like, so we can sort of talk about what's going on in her life or what it feels like to not be able to share your life with us. We can talk to Zal a little bit about what is he scared of? How is he navigating in this bizarre new world that is his internal environment? And for Metric, we can talk a little bit about, moving or what kind, like, where is he and what's he kind of working through? And I would love it if over the next week or two, we could also start to really think about where do we want to be at the end of this. So we also have to think a little bit about duration and whether we want to extend. I'm feeling like we still have a couple weeks more work to do, maybe than 8. But then for us to really think a little bit about, okay, so the group is here to help us. And the way that the group is going to help us is it's hard to figure out what you want to do because there's so much stuff in the way. So the group can help us unpack that stuff. That's why venting can be useful, right? So we don't want to vent just over and over and over again. So there are studies that show that, for example, crying once is healthy. But crying every day without making progress actually is unhealthy and makes us, reduces our motivation. So venting has a role, and so we want to help other people emotionally decompress if that's what they need, right? Ruby got a little bit emotional when she was sharing. I'm sure all y'all have a lot of emotion. So we want to help each other do that for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But then once those emotions are kind of out, let's think about, okay, what are we going to do to help you build your life? Metrics moving north of Toronto. Okay, what's that like for you? You know, yeah, they've got fiber internet, but what is dating going to be like there for you? Is that something that you think about? Is it something that you worry about? Is it something you're concerned
yeah.
about? Right? And do you have anyone to talk to about that? For Zell, it's like, what you going to do with your life now, bro? For Ruby, it's like, what's it like to move to a different country? And like, if you want to create a retreat center, that's an amazing dream. How can we help you actually build it? So over the next couple of weeks, we want to think a little bit about leveraging this thing that we built, which is being able to talk to each other, being able to help each other with our emotions, being able to explore with each other, and leverage it towards progress. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
So what do y'all want to dig into in terms of, we picking a person, we picking a topic? What do y'all think?
I keep joking with my mods that I'm waiting for the day that you pick on me.
How do y'all feel about that?
Yeah, let's pick on her. Let's go.
Okay.
Thanks.
Zal, Metric, do y'all feel comfortable enough? Because we've been doing this for a little while. I'm happy to pick on Ruby. But if y'all feel comfortable kind of opening it up, I'm more than happy to take a back seat. And remember that our skills can just be like, have we talked about open-ended questions? Maybe not. So let's learn.
I don't think we have.
Yeah.
So let's learn a skill for today. Okay. So today we're going to learn about open-ended questions. So oftentimes, so I'll give you all a simple example. So patient once walked into my office and said, I was like, oh, so what's new with you? And they're like, my dad passed away. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he was like, actually, no, I'm celebrating. He was abusive. We had a terrible relationship. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So instead, what I learned to do was, instead of asking, saying, I'm so sorry for you and making assumptions, we can ask open-ended questions. So if they say, my dad passed away, I say, how do you feel about that? Right? So then let them take the lead. So I'll start with a couple of open-ended questions with Ruby. And then what I want y'all to remember that we learned about reflections, which is kind of like repeating back to people what they said. And sometimes we don't want to get into the scenario where we're like interrogating Ruby. So when we're interrogating Ruby, it'll be question after question after question. What happened next? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
I'll just cry.
And so what we can do is as we hear her say things, we can try to reflect. So we can say like, wow, it sounds like really challenging because you're uprooting your entire life. That's like, I can't imagine like Metric's moving to Toronto. He's staying in the same country. Sounds like Zell's moving too. Everyone's moving. Kathy's moving. So I'm going to encourage y'all to, if you have kind of an open-ended, or it doesn't have to be open-ended, but if you'll have a question that you feel curious to ask, I encourage you to strongly ask or jump in whenever y'all are ready. Otherwise, I'll go for about 15 minutes and then I'll pitch it over to you. So Ruby, I'll give you a close-ended question. Oh, actually, no. We're going to do open-ended question. I was about to give you an either or. What do you feel like talking about today? Or when your mods think about when we turn the crosshairs on you, what do you think they would be interested in exploring? Or why do you think they think that's important?
I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. I was thinking about this earlier. Like, I've already cried today, so I'm not allowed to cry again. You told me.
What?
I'm joking.
Oh.
Like, you're saying crying more than once a day is not like.
Oh, no.
I get really annoyed with my crying. Actually, it's something I get really frustrated with because I can't get my point across if I'm crying. But I just have this. I'm one of these people that like I'll either not cry at something really important and then just randomly cry at like really what doesn't feel important things. So I've just kind of put that down to emotional dysregulation in ADHD. I don't know. It's actually kind of frustrating.
I'm a bit confused for a second, Ruby. What makes you think that you can't get your point across if you're crying?
because I'm crying, and people get distracted by the crying, and then they think that you're really upset, and I'm not actually. And also, like, ever since a kid up until like adulthood, even in the last few years, I've had people literally tell me, stop crying, you're emotionally manipulating people. And I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
if I could make this stop, I would. And when I'm in a more stable place, it happens a lot less. But since I've had to like move in with my parents are great. Like, they've let me move in here, they let me take over, they'll do anything to make sure like that I can do what I need to do. My parents are absolutely great. But when you're an adult and you're used to your own space, you're used to your own routine, and especially when hang on, I need my words to come out not weird and cry.
Why?
Because then you sound like you're irate, and then as a woman you get told to just calm down, you know? And you don't get listened to or taken seriously. So, yeah, especially as someone who has realized that they've pretty much made their whole content around keeping their own ADHD symptoms at bay. And that's, how I got into everything. I also have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So I'm very aware that everything I've done to get to this point is to not be unwell. And if I get stressed or I let things build up, I get overwhelmed, I start to feel pain, like physically, which is why I'm so aware of like having a yoga practice and having a meditation practice, and all of those things have kind of gone out the window. And this week has been like the week that I've started to feel it in my body. Like right before stream just now, I was meditating and I did a great big stretch and a giant click came out of my body. And I don't know, like, if other people believe this or how people feel about this, but like everything you think and feel, well, I'm gonna say you, but I or you manifest within your body. And I'm just so aware that stress, not sleeping, because my dog's got diabetes and he needs to go out and pee every 2 hours, and he gets up all night, and literally he just got diagnosed today. We've been trying different medications because he's got a heart problem as well. So we literally found out today. So yeah, like not sleeping, stress about visas, going to a visa interview, sorting out money, our stupid prime minister, just lots of things that affect you, and just like slowly add up. Because I haven't had my practice and I haven't had my own space, it's just kind of like I felt it manifesting physically and mentally. And like today, I've already had a cry, and I said to some friends, like, I kind of put some boundaries up, like, I'm overwhelmed because I do this thing and I've done it with all of you, which is why I told you today. I don't tell people stuff because it's not important, because I'm the person that people tell stuff. And then they've told me all this stuff and then I can't turn around and say, yeah, I'm really struggling too. My life's shit. Like, my life isn't shit, but like, it's not a competition. But I think where I communicate with a lot of people online and via text, it's really easy to just become the person that absorbs. And I think I'm really good at seeming like I'm absolutely fine for a really long time. And like, I don't want to put this onto my community either. I'm so aware of that. I'm so aware that like I don't want to put all of this onto them. It's not their problem. They're excited about me moving to Portugal. Like, they keep saying, "Are you going yet?" And the more like stressful the moving situation becomes, like dealing with lawyers, visas, money, foreign bank accounts, like whole other language, documents come through. I just have to keep smiling and being like, it's getting there. Like, you don't just say, "Hey, I'm moving to another country," and then you just go. It's yeah. So yeah, that's everything. I don't even remember what the question was.
That's why we ask open-ended questions, right? So that it. Zell, I noticed you were taking notes. Is it okay if I respond and then pitch it over to you if you've got something to say?
Sure.
So Ruby, I don't know what sounds harder about this. Like, so I'm just really amazed that, first of all, of course, like, stress affects you and you have a lot of things to be stressful about. I think what sounds really tough about this is that it seems like when there are certain things about the way that your physiology and brain and things like that are that sort of make handling stress even worse, which feels like really like unfair to me. It's like I almost think that there's like a normal amount of stress which everyone is kind of entitled to, right? Life isn't easy for everybody. But then what I'm really noticing is that you have so many additional burdens on your shoulders, whether it be pain, whether it be like, difficulty regulating emotions, whether it be the judgment that other people send your way for like being unable to regulate your emotions. That just feels like it's gotta suck to need to have a good cry and be punished for it. And I'm just really appreciating how there are just all these other layers of difficulty with what you kind of like go through on a day-to-day basis.
You saying that's reminded me of like more things. I also have PMDD.
Do you
Every month.
Is that, sorry, I don't know what that is. Could you explain what that is?
I talk about it on stream because I think it's something that's really important. Premenstrual dysmorphic disorder. I got diagnosed a few years ago. I had to actually go on hormone therapy to find out that I had it. My doctor actually gave me injections in my stomach that stopped all of my hormones and told me that if all my hormones are stopped and my depression goes away, then I've got it. And then I was put on HRT for a while. And I became a robot with like more bone pain. Because it can cause like osteoporosis and stuff because obviously you're stopping all your hormones. And I decided like just stop taking all of that and I'll try and like deal with it. So then I've cycled antidepressants. So I used to take antidepressants for like 2 weeks of the month and then for 2 weeks of the month. So like cycling them. So PMDD is like, imagine everything you know about PMS and then like times that and add in like depression. Like I was told I was bipolar when I was younger before I figured out I had PMDD because I kept a diary and went into the doctors and was like, right, trigger warning, suicide and stuff. I went into the doctors and was like, it's not right that I want to kill myself every single month. That is not right. And it's the same dates. And it's the same week. And I've found this thing, and I don't feel that bad anymore. I've stopped taking antidepressants. And I haven't had it that bad for, I'd say, a year. But this month I noticed it because I think of everything else. This month I found it like harder. So yeah, like it's kind of like every month for the week before my period I get depression, and I kind of like, I have this "too shall pass" tattooed on the inside of my arm. I had that done before I got diagnosed because I've spent my whole life just going, this goes away, this goes away, this goes away. I'll be fine next week. Like, this goes away.
Yeah, but that's what sucks about it, right? It's like, why do you have to have, like, sure, it goes away, which is like great, but I mean, why do you have to lose 25% of your weeks to this? You know, that just feels so unfair to me. It's like playing life with a handicap.
Sounds exhausting.
It's all right. Get used to it. It's all I know, isn't it? Like, you have to find the best ways through. Like, I used to be a very depressed person all the time, and very, very anxious person all the time. And I didn't want to live like that. And a very, like, in pain person all the time. Like, I don't want to live like that. So you have to find the best ways through. It's kind of like that glass half empty or half full, you know? I'm actually relatively healthy in my body. Like, if you were to go and do exams on, like, all my organs, they're all good. Like, I'm really good at breaking bones. I don't know why. But I've broken my back and I've fractured both my ankles. I stood up on stream once and my legs just gave way. I broke my foot. But in general, like, I do pole dancing, I do aerial hoop, I go on long walks, I do yoga. In general, when my health is good and I'm in a really good place, like, I can do a lot. So, and none of it's gonna kill me. You know? It's whether I'm fine.
What do y'all think?
I think you deserve more. And hopefully we can help you. I mean, there's definitely physical problems that we cannot address, but maybe nudge you past accepting it as this is as good as it gets, because there's got to be something. Like, I mean, you sound very brave just stomaching it, right? And it almost feels like when you talk about it, there's like a tone of resignation to it. Like, you already sound defeated.
I don't think I am defeated though, because
I know what you mean.
in
Let her finish.
2000,
Sorry, yeah.
in 2000, like 10, 2008, 9, yeah, like 2010, 2011, like I would go out like shopping and fall, like, not be able to walk. I'd have days where I couldn't wash my hair. I'd have days where I couldn't go upstairs. I'd have days where I couldn't get out of bed. So in general, the fact that I can like pole dance and like do aerial hoop and like, I'm a very determined person. I guess the thing is that I struggle when things get hard. Like, how things are at the moment. Like, it's a little overwhelming. I can't have my routine and stuff. I think a lot of the people around me don't even know, or just assume I'm better. It's all gone. Like, that was just that part of your life. Like, anyone who's got chronic fatigue or fibro or anything like that will kind of understand this, you know, if people can't see it, then you're okay. And, you know, I've got people that I've told all of these things about myself. But then when I say like if I was at TwitchCon this weekend, if I was to tell people I'm not coming to that party, or I'm not walking across town to that thing, or I'm not going to do this because tomorrow I want to do this, they don't understand. That's just like an example, but like, yeah.
Do you think it'd be bad if people knew?
No,
You know,
people do
about-
know. I do tell people.
Okay. Because I got the feeling through the stuff that you were talking about that like you obviously like have so much under your belt, and it feels like you've put in so much work and effort in order to be the person that you are even through all these things. And I think that's like you're a fucking superhero, you know. Like, sorry, I swore. But like, you know, you've got so much underneath it all, and you go as far as to not up to, in your words, like not be unwell to other people. And so I just am curious, you know, like would it be less hard if you didn't feel like you had to like hold that? And by the way, like for me personally, this is very relatable because I'm somebody who I think in sort of for the opposite reasons, I think people think that I always have everything under control because I'm very like the way I talk is very, you know, straight to the point, all this other stuff. And I think I constantly get put in a place of like, oh, he definitely has his, you know, stuff together, you know, he's got it all, he's got it under control. And, you know, maybe I do, but maybe I don't. And, but it's something that like I've realized for myself that like it probably would be better in some cases if other people were able to help me, you know. And I'm curious if it ever feels like that for you, where like because of all the effort that you put into, you know, um, again, not appear unwell, that like it's hard to ask for help. And wouldn't it be nice to have help, I guess? I don't know. I'm kind of curious on your perspective on that.
Yeah, in some cases, like now, how I've let things build up and I've not really shared, like, you guys, I've kind of mentioned, oh, I'm just moving somewhere, you know. But like with other things, you tell people and they forget very quickly because I seem fine. Like, it's hard to expect people to remember or even understand that I'm constantly, if I'm like, for example, I have a friend who I love dearly, but when they visit, they take all my energy. And having them around takes all my energy. Like, I love them. They're great. But I'm exhausted. And having them around for a weekend often means the next week I have like dry eyes, exhaustion streams until the next weekend. It's trying to I don't think I'll ever get anyone to really understand that I need time on my own. I can't constantly give. I don't think anyone can, but also I think there's part of me that wants to as well. Like I'm someone that wants to. There was part of me at one point in this journey that was like, I'm fixed now, so now I can fix everyone else. Like, um, and wanting to connect with all the people out there, especially during lockdown. I met a lot of amazing people in my community that are struggling with all sorts of things. And I wanted to, introduce them to things that maybe they wouldn't be able to get out and do, like yoga, or, I have a viewer who's in a wheelchair, and I said, yeah, I will do yoga sitting on a chair then. And it inspired him, and now he's lifting weights, you know? And they're the things I want to do. But that's what I want to help other people. But yeah, every now and then I get reminded I'm not fixed.
So, Zell, I'm a little bit curious. So, can you? I know Ruby already kind of answered, but what were you kind of thinking of when you were listening to Ruby? I got the sense that you asked a hypothesis-driven question, right? So, what was the question you were kind of asking, and how do you kind of understand Ruby? That may be hard to answer, by the way.
I think I kind of understand what you're getting at. Kind of like I think the hypothesis that I had in my mind was around the idea of help, and like how would, so I guess the hypothesis is that would you want somebody to be able to help you the way it seems like you help other people? And so like the hypothesis there is like, if that if that person, if there was something there, would, is that something that, like, this is such an awkward way of wording this. I guess like the question is more like, how would you like somebody to help you, under the hypothesis
Stop
that
right there.
you would
Stop.
like, yeah, okay.
Great. Ruby, how would you like someone to help you?
I don't think I let people help me.
This is what we call a critical hit in group. Not to make light of it, but
Yeah, I don't think I let people help me. I want to do it on my own. I'm the only person that can I'm the only person that can deal with this. This is gonna sound really strange, but I almost get annoyed at people helping me. When I had my coaching with Healthy Gamer, and someone started being nice to me. Not saying that people aren't nice to me, but someone just saying like, well, that sounds tough, or someone like even just saying like, I'm proud of you, like, felt really weird. Um, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be in debt to anyone. And I feel bad. Like, a lot of people help me in my community, like my mods and stuff. And I wish I could give them something. Like, one of my mods helps me with all my highlights, which is amazing. And he edits it. And I keep trying to pay for he wanted a tattoo, so I keep trying to pay for him to get a tattoo, but he won't book the tattoo. I'm trying to book it. I've got a whole box of gifts for him that I'm gonna take to him. But
sounds like he's like you. Doesn't want to be in debt. I can pay for my own tattoo.
It's almost like you've acquired like-minded people. which is I feel like a lot of streamers do that. Their communities are filled with like-minded people.
Yeah.
This is something I've been sort of learning, and something that I learned from my coaching is that it's when you again, this might not necessarily pertain to you, Ruby. I'm just again throwing this out there, but this is how it is for me because I'm very similar in that I don't ask for help ever. It would kill me to ask for help, and that's just how I've lived my life. It's just like I do it. It's my problem. I get it or I die. That's on me. And the thing I found over time is even in like my friendships with other people, and I've realized over time that I drift from people very frequently in my life. And I'm kind of understanding now that part of that is because if you never ask anything from other people, they will also not ask stuff from you either, right? And part of that can be like if you view it transactionally, like because you use the word debt, but like really is it really debt if you're friends and they're trying to help or whatever, right? And like it was something that like I learned recently is that like I have to change this about myself, otherwise people cannot help me because I never give them the opportunity to do so. And even though I want to help them, they'll also feel similar things because of what I've shown them, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, that
I
makes
wonder
sense.
if you relate to that at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like you saying that made me realize I have one friend, and they're very much like me. And I tell them off. Like, we basically tell each other off and uh, unravel each other's kind of um, stubbornness, dare I say. Like, I didn't think I was a stubborn person. This is going to sound really weird way to realize I was stubborn until I was being tattooed. And I've done 3 days to get my back tattooed, and the tattoo artist said, "You're stubborn. You've booked a day. You want to get the day finished. You're in pain. Most people would stop right now, but you've just told me to do the other side because you're stubborn." And I was like, that's a weird way to put it about like getting a tattoo, but also, yes, I've traveled 3 hours to get here. I'm getting done tattooed for a day. That is what's in my mind, and that is what I've planned, and I'm gonna do it because that's what's getting done. And I guess that's like, I didn't expect to learn that I was stubborn from a tattoo artist. Like,
Question. When you talk about not wanting to owe people and not wanting to be in debt, like to go further into that, have you had very many friendships in the past that people viewed it as like a transactional friendship, like a transactional relationship? Because I've had those, and for a while after that, it took me a while to feel like I could, you know, be vulnerable or ask for help or anything like that with other people. And it makes me kind of wonder if you've been traumatized or hurt by someone or people.
yeah, I kind of swore in the last few years that I'm never making a friend on Twitch or streaming until we
Nailed
started
it.
until we started doing this like group session. I was like, why do I like everyone? Why are people nice? But
Stop. So first thing, we're not going to let Metric get away with that. What did Metric do?
I thought I had a eureka. I thought I had a eureka. I'm sorry.
No, you did.
Okay.
But we're not going to ask a great question.
Okay.
Hit the money. But that was a question that was coming from his own experience. Do y'all get that? That's why he can ask. So what we need to do is ask him about those transactional things.
I'm not on trial here. This is
Nope.
Ruby's time.
No, so remember what we discovered, right? So Kathy does this judo too, where Kathy asks a question about something that's relevant for her, but then slips under the radar. And like Metric is like, oh, and he's like halfway there because he asks a question. He's like, because I've had that ... and then he talks about himself for a little bit, and then like Ruby's like, I swore never to make friends on Twitch. And then we started the group, which I know sounds weird, but I do not want y'all to become friends. So this is an important boundary. It's not that you can't, but the reason this is special is because we're not friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say it put my faith back in humans again. Do you know what I mean? Because I hadn't talked to other streamers.
And the second we start queuing for Valorant together is when we throw that away. Y'all get that? So this is a really important point about group, which is that when we start to get close, we're like, wow, these people are amazing. And the reason that we understand each other, the reason that we can be so authentic with each other is because I got you a Christmas gift that was $20. You got me a Christmas gift that was $50. Now I feel indebted to you. All that crap that comes with friendship, we want to be careful about letting it into here. But I really love that Metric and Zell and Ash and Kathy and Smirky, who are all Twitch streamers, which Ruby swore off of, y'all need to give yourselves a pat on the back. Because the way that you've talked to her has given her faith in humanity, which is hard enough. But even harder than that is given her faith in Twitch streamers, which is so much harder.
I'm still not 100%. Like,
but
Oh, it's a terrible group of people.
I would love it if y'all don't let Metric get away with just asking questions and somebody ask him, what's your experience of like having tell us about that whole transactional friend business and how it's hard for you to open up. Something like someone asked some question like that.
So yeah, you say that like you've had that kind of experience, and you mentioned also like, did it traumatize me? Like,
Yeah.
Nice, Ruby.
How, what happened?
So before I ever started streaming, I moderated for somebody who became a partner. And like this was back in 2016 when partners were definitely more rare, right? So his stream grew and I eventually started streaming, but I maintained a very active role in his community. And I never promoted myself. I never acted like I wanted to steal viewers or anything. But I was very careful about that because I never, ever, ever wanted anyone to feel like I ripped them off. And then I started growing a little bit, and this person eventually became very disillusioned with Twitch and quit streaming and went into some really weird, paranoid, I almost want to say delusions. But they weren't well in a certain way. And then eventually they started pulling up my numbers because you can do that on various sites. And they were saying that I was a failure. And it almost made me feel like Schrodinger's leech. Like, did I steal your viewers or didn't I? Because I only stole enough of your viewers to hurt you, but I didn't steal enough of your viewers to be successful. So, what is it?
I was going to say, did they accuse you of stealing their viewers at one point then?
Yes. Absolutely. And the thing is that in that whole, like, I was only ever supportive of them, and I don't know, like, how it got to that point of, like, I still looked up to them as, like, somebody I could go to for advice, or you know, I could at least like listen to them if they weren't feeling well or something. I trusted them, but at a certain point, they just viewed me as an open threat, and and it really hurt. And that was right before my first TwitchCon. Um, so when I went to TwitchCon 2017, I was legitimately terrified to like go talk to other streamers, um, because I was just like, are they going to see me as someone who's just going to try and worm their way in? And to that point, like, people tell me I earned my partner badge. You work damn hard for it. I really, really, really struggle to go into a new stream, and like resist the urge to turn off the badge. There is a, if anyone's not familiar, there's like this dialogue on Twitter about should partners turn off their check mark when they go into a new stream, because it looks like they're trying to steal viewers, because there's only so many ways that you can say I'm a streamer without saying you're a streamer. And having that on, and like it's the first time you're chatting, says I'm a streamer, and I just want to make friends, or I just want to hang out in the community, or I want to say like something nice about, you know, the gameplay or what the streamer said or something, and like, but also I fucking earned that check mark. I worked like a dog for that thing, right? Like, why should I be ashamed of it? So I
Have
don't
you
know.
have you found yourself making any more friends since then? Like,
It's definitely slowed down since I became a partner.
I relate to this.
yeah.
I let's just say I've had also my share of unsavory moments with the greater Twitch crowd, and I'm curious because we have three streamers here, and all three of us are saying the same exact thing about like how we've had these situations, and I'm like, damn, maybe it wasn't just me after all,
Yeah.
because I'm that way. Uh, without going into my past experience, but like I came out of it basically the same way, where I was like, I can't be friends with other content creators. Like this is just it's just not it's not worth the trouble of mixing business and friendships. And there are so many things like I've talked about this on my stream about it because like you know, especially during my time in offline TV, I was around a lot of streamers all the time of various, you know, huge streamers, not so big streamers, etc. But like the thing is like, man, when you talk to other streamers and it gets into the whole idea of like, are you a collabor or are you a leecher? You know, and like it seems like the only difference is if the person with the bigger numbers likes you or not. If you like you, oh, you're a collabor. Yeah, that's great. If they don't like you, well, you're a leech and I don't want you here. You know, and like and there's no HR in content creator world, right? Like retaliation is like a very real thing that happens in content creator world, and I think like yeah, and so like I like after my own personal bad experiences, I turned into the Grinch. You know, my heart became 10 sizes smaller, and I didn't want to talk to other streamers. I didn't want to talk to other content creators. I was like, I'm just gonna pretend that I don't see anyone else. And it was just kind of lucky that like I actually did meet a good friend of mine whom I am actually moving in with, who is a Twitch streamer. But like, it took a lot for me to even open myself up to that, and like, so I'm just saying I relate to all this heavily.
There is the alternate too, where you're not accused of stealing viewers, but like you type something for the first time in someone's stream, and they're not upset that you're there, but they're like, oh, they're a partner, ooh la la, and they like make a big deal of it. And you're like, damn it, like I'm just like, honestly, I crawled out of bed and barely put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you did. Like it. Yeah, I'm not special. Like I was just there was a right time and a right place, and my numbers were at a certain point, and I pressed the button, and that's what happened. Like that's all that was. That's all that it was. So
I've had kind of different experiences. I think because of the content that I make and the communities that I'm in, they're slightly different. My problem, which I'm aware of, is this I want to help everyone thing. I have actively gone out of my way to want to help people get higher numbers, and to share them. Like,
I've been there too. Yeah.
if community members of mine support me and they're nice, I have no problem with talking to them and asking, did you stream today? Like on my stream, because viewers have they're people. They're not just numbers on your screen, they're people and they have their own free will. You can't like force people to watch you. You can raid someone and they will all leave if they don't like it. Like they're people.
You don't own
Nobody
anyone's time.
Yeah, I don't own anyone. I don't own the people that watch my stream. There's nothing for me to lose by being kind. There's nothing for me to lose by supporting and helping someone.
Yeah.
And now I understand there is in other ways, but in general, by being kind, there's nothing I can, like, it's not going to hurt me by
It's
being
free.
nice. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
But my problem has been that I've been the one that has always wanted a friend online, and I've wanted people, and I've wanted them to do well. And, I've made friends and people that I have a couple of like really good streamer friends that I chat to all the time, and they'll talk about me in their chat and I'll talk about them in my chat and their partners, and it does not matter. Like I want, if anything, people to click with their content and watch them and watch me. Like, it grows the community of the people, because I'm in such a small community. It's good for me and for them and for everyone to find people with like-minded views creating similar content, build those communities. And yeah, I've been burnt by that, because not everyone, it's kind of that thing of like, you give someone, what's the saying, like, if you give someone an inch they'll take a mile. And I've had people that I thought were friends, but when it's come down to it and things have got tough, or, things have got to a certain point, or I've said no, their reaction has been, I did this for you, I did that for you. You didn't even share this post when I put it up. And I'm like, well, I don't work like that. I don't tally friendships. Like, if you're going through something and you need help, or you're doing an event and you want me to share it, I'm into what you're doing, like, I will share it if it resonates with me and I think it's good for people to see, then I will share it. I'm not gonna go like sharing your random posts, or I don't tally friendships.
Blurring the lines between friends and business is.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a checkbox like, you shared my post, I have to share your post. Like, that's not like how friendships go in my eyes. Like, you support each other, but I wasn't there for the numbers. I'm there for the friendship. I'm not there for the. And it's quite apparent when you say no to someone and suddenly they're mad that you didn't share a Twitter post, or you didn't like an Instagram post, or, I've literally had these things said to me. You haven't liked my Instagram posts for ages. I didn't see them. Maybe you've been shadow banned. Let me go and have a look. I'll like them now. No, it's too late. Like,
Yeah, I missed
what?
this meeting on social engagement with friends thing.
Yeah.
That like yeah.
So
Yeah, and I had a very like hard experience with one particular person who streams, and it threw me. Like, you talking about being scared to go to TwitchCon? Like, I got ambassador. I was invited to TwitchCon. I'm meant to be really excited, but instead I'm having a panic attack in the bathroom. And I can't tell anyone, you know, because then I'm the person spreading gossip. I don't want to talk bad about anyone. They're going through stuff as well. People only act out because they're struggling as well. Like, people only, like, act in certain ways. Like, happy people don't hurt people. Hurt people, you know? And I wish people the best, but sometimes maybe that's my downfall. Like, I hate to say it about myself, but maybe I'm just too fucking nice. Like, I want people to be happy, and I understand that people are going through stuff, and everyone's got a story like that we don't know, and acting out or lashing out at someone or saying something in a moment or in a like I can completely like if that person was to come up to me and say I was struggling, I'm sorry, I'd say I've already forgiven you. Like, I don't hold grudges. But yeah, like I want people to be happy. I don't tell people about things because it's not gossip. I don't want to be involved in telling people stuff and talking about other people, and I'm not here for that. I'm here to make people happy, create content, and, you know, just enjoy life. We've only got one. It's too short. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Just as out of curiosity, just because it seems like we had similar experiences with this stuff. Like, if you were to look at content creators as a whole, and you think about the percentage of people who have the capacity to hurt you in the ways that we've been hurt by other content creators, like what percentage do you think of content? Because like, for a while I was in the mindset of like, man, I don't want to be friends with anyone because you never know. It was like, they're all people with trench coats with knives under them. I don't know, and like I was like scared. But like realistically speaking, like how much percentage of the content creators do you think are people who think that way? With like having friendships be purely transactional and all this stuff, because maybe it was just from where I was at, but like I felt like for a long time it was like most is how I felt, and it's hard for me.
1 and 2.
Yeah,
1 and 2.
Yeah, there was
it
a
felt
small
like a lot.
Yeah, there was a small time after that I literally didn't want to know anyone. Like, I was going to joke earlier when you're like, Dr. K was saying like people can come up to my mountain retreat. I was like, no, I'm moving to a mountain so nobody can get to me. Like, so I could be on my own. Like, nobody's coming to my retreat. I'm going to build it on stream and nobody's going to know where I am, and I could turn stream off and they all go away. Like,
that sniper's nest right up in front, and then you can pick them off as they climb up. Yeah.
But yeah, like I did feel for some time, and it's taken me a while. Like when you're saying, like when Metric was saying about people with their partner badge in chat, I get excited that people with partner badges are in my chat.
Oh, I freak out. I love it. Like
I'm
yeah.
happy that another creator wants to spend their time at a place which they potentially call work watching my stream, because I even said this today on stream that when I'm very stressed or I'm very overwhelmed, I spend less time on Twitch because I want to disconnect from that place, you know, like, so if someone wants to spend their free time with me and that's the place that they stream and do their work, then I feel very like honored. And I think maybe I've like pushed people away and I've isolated myself in the past. Because there are some people in the content that I make that are regulars in my chat and I see them and I appreciate them being there, but I just don't want to get involved. It's too much energy. Like, I don't want to speak to people.
Zell, I'm sorry, did you share what percentage of content creators you think are like that? I didn't catch that in your question or not.
How many I think are like that? For a while, I thought it was everyone. Like, when I was first kind of like her, it felt like everyone could potentially do exactly the same thing. But now, I think it's probably like 25%.
What? So Metric's number is 50. Ruby's number is 25. So what's your number?
I feel like the higher up you go in like numbers of content creators, like their like metrics and stuff, the higher the number gets. And then from this is my completely biased and I'm still hurt by this number, but I still feel like it's most like 75%. That's
I
like
also feel-
honestly,
So,
No, sorry.
I know. I was just gonna say, I honestly feel like when you're a bigger content creator, it feels to me that you are more obsessed with your numbers, and therefore it's more likely that friendships become more transactional. That's like how it feels to me, and that's why like I'm really grateful to have found my friend that I'm moving in with, but I still feel like like he's just the odd one out is like how it feels to me. And it sucks because I feel like the logic part of my brain goes, that's probably not the case. And in fact, probably most of the people who hurt each other in the content creator world do it not out of intention, but out of just out of ignorance. And logically, I think I can understand that. And I think the logical side of my brain goes, you know what? Probably the only really people that are like that in content creator hoods are like less than 10% realistically. But then the hurt part of me and the like the emotion side of me is like, nah, everybody's like everyone has the capacity to hurt you, and you should always be aware of that. It's like how it tells it to my logical side of my brain.
So
Can
I
I-
would say,
oh.
sorry. I would say that like when you're a partner or when you were bigger and now you're not as much, because I switched to variety from, maining, and I was doing particularly well for a while, and then I got burned out, right? That like right now on a typical stream, say Ruby was live, like Ruby's metrics are significantly greater than mine. And like, yes, I feel comfortable talking to Ruby one-on-one. Like, that's not the problem. But I would have to be drunk or high to feel like I could raid Ruby at the end of my stream. Because like raiding into like 10 times my numbers, I feel like I look like I'm trying to get something out of her. And that it's not like for my community or it's not for her. It's literally like me trying to self promote or me trying to like, look relevant or something like that. And I know that just by saying that she already shook her head no, like, oh my god, like, but it's the visuals of the numbers that like I stopped rating a lot of my friends after I went back into variety because their numbers were still up or growing and mine went down, and I just did not want to look like that person. So just to not look like a manipulative person, I stopped. I just stopped. And I wonder if I'm hurting friendships just by doing that.
Can I
So,
chime in? I also just want to be a little bit mindful of our time. So this is where it's cool because we actually ended up getting to one of our 8 predetermined topics today, which is y'all are in the business of friendship. So that's so at this point, we've worked with about 400 content creators, and from size, frankly, it doesn't matter. We've seen the challenge that y'all face is the same challenge that streamers who are 10 times bigger than y'all face or 10 times smaller than y'all face. It's I mean, there is some variability, but generally speaking, it's like everyone struggles with this. And that's because, I don't know if this kind of makes sense, but we have relationship building. We're humans. We build relationships, right? Normal. And yet streaming has created it's this new way of building a relationship. This has never existed in the history of humanity. So our brains are not designed to function. Like our relationship building circuitry is not designed for streaming. It's designed for small tribal interpersonal relationships. And so what y'all are experiencing is it's a very universal experience, and it's something that we've actually made a lot of progress with people with. And I'd love to share with y'all, if that's okay for a couple minutes, kind of what we've learned and what we've found works or doesn't work. So the first is that being in the business of friendship is hard because it's a dual relationship. Are we friends or are we collaborators? Can you help me? Can I help you? And then the problem kind of becomes, there are all kinds of problems that arise. The first is that if I'm a smaller streamer and I collab with a bigger streamer. Now, the worst situation for small streamers who want to collab with big streamers is that I actually don't care that you're big and I'm small. I want to be in your Among Us lobby because I actually like you as a person. When I stream, I've got 5 people over here that I don't like streaming with. And I've got 5 people over here that I genuinely have a lot of fun with. And so there's a genuineness of hey, let's hang out sometime because we're actually friends. And now that becomes challenging if you're the smaller streamer, because then what is the bigger streamer going to think when you're hey, you want to play Among Us sometime? Right? Because a lot of this was Among Us lobbies and who gets into the lobby and who doesn't get into the lobby. Oh my God. And then similarly, some people are kind of transactional about it. Some people are not transactional about it. I'd say generally speaking, there's a variance there. I think some people are more naturally transactional when they think about relationships. So I'm not my transactional isn't really I think that's a little bit of a unfair characterization. I think some people are really, really give a lot of attention to the debt balance in a relationship, and other people don't. I don't think one is better or worse than others. We're making it sound like transactional is bad. So another big thing that we've discovered is that there's not a good or a bad. It's I kind of put it to you this way. If I have a friend and, we go out to dinner, let's say, and I'll be oh, I'll get it this time. You get it next time. We'll just take turns. But over time, there may be a financial difference that I'm completely oblivious to. And that may not actually be fair to them because I like eating at hole-in-the-wall places. They like eating nice places. And we just set up this kind of thing where, oh, it's on me. I'm going to take you to this $5 taco shop. You're going to take me to a 3-star restaurant. I mean, some fancy restaurant. I don't know, 5-star or whatever. I don't even know how that works. 1 Michelin star. I don't know. Case in point, right? And they're paying attention to that. And I'm food is food. It's not something that I value. So our real experience has been that I don't think some people really are very, very transactional, and they're almost sociopathic in the way that they think about it. It really is a grind, and it's a game, and everyone pretends to be friends, and I'm not really friends with any of these people. But I think those streamers are less than 10%. I think most people are genuinely struggling because we're not really taught how to navigate collabs versus friendships. And then because then things get muddy, because if you're really my friend, is it okay for me to ask you to raid? Right? And then if I ask, what position does that put the other person in? And if they say no, what does that do to our friendship? And this is the kind of thing where it's like someone said, I don't know if it was Zell, but there's no HR. So it's like if you work at a company and y'all are professional colleagues and you want to start dating, there's like an HR process that you go through. We have no such thing. And without that kind of thing, no one really knows. So another big thing that I've come to realize, which y'all actually sort of alluded to, is that it's not that streamers are transactional or not transactional. That's an internal variable that changes. And a lot of it actually has nothing to do, it's not like Metric is kind of thinking, okay, I could never raid Ruby because she's got 10 times as much as her. Does that mean he's transactional? It's kind of like a transactional thought, right? There's a comparison there. But it's not like Metric is an asshole who's like sociopathic and you're not. And it's just thinking about the numbers. Right? That like, do y'all get, and because Ruby's like, I don't care. Like, you can raid me with 5 people. You can raid me with 5 million. Makes no difference to me. And that's what she kind of says. And I think I'm sure that on some level, Metric understands that. Like, Metric, is it okay if someone who really enjoys your streams has 1% of the viewers that you have? Is it okay if they raid you?
It happens all the time, and I'm really happy about it.
Why the
So-
double standard?
Because it's me.
Right? So this is what
Yeah.
we've discovered about a lot of streamers, is that it's not that people, for the most part, are sociopathic or transactional, whatever. It's a genuinely confusing situation, which is why 90% of like, look at this. All 3 of y'all have had these difficult experiences. I don't think that y'all dealt with a bunch of assholes. I think what happens is, much like doctors, we have this idea that there are good doctors and bad doctors, which is somewhat true, right? Maybe like 5% of the doctors are genuinely better than the rest, and 5% of doctors are genuinely worse than the rest. The other 90%, there are good doctor days and bad doctor days. Just like we discovered at the beginning of the stream, all of y'all are going through a rough time. So any kind of collab or friendship or any interaction that you have is going to be more sensitive to getting messed up. Gazelle is even saying, like, I used to think it was this number. Now I think it's this number. I was in a really dark place. Do you guys see, each of you has sort of mentioned that there's variability in terms of how you're feeling about, like, whether people are transactional or not. And that's really what we've discovered through our creator support programs, is that helping creators, like, decompress that stuff. It's not about what other people are people transactional or not transactional. It's first of all, like, being good within yourself. And then to a certain degree, we'll also, like, engage people with conversations. Like, so, sometimes I think that this is the other thing that streamers aren't taught, which we're teaching y'all. Y'all are getting really good at it, by the way. It's like, y'all don't know how to talk to each other. Like, you know how to talk to each other. I mean, actually, y'all are really good at talking to each other to make good content. But how do you approach another streamer and say, like, have y'all ever had, like, a DTR conversation, defining the relationship conversation with another streamer? Like, hey, like, what are we? Are we friends? Are we collaborators? Like, how do you kind of view this relationship? I just want to make sure I understand, like, if I'm behaving in accordance with, like, what what you're envisioning, like, am I doing okay, not okay? It's kind of a weird conversation to have.
I've had it.
Not surprised. Right? Because even when Ruby was sharing her thing and this person was like, you haven't liked my Instagram posts. Ruby's like, I'm happy to. It's too late. That person is feeling hurt. Right? But where did this, and this is where, like, the right question to ask there, I don't know if that person, I'm sure Ruby handled the conversation as well as it could be, but because sometimes people are not in the frame to listen, but help me understand a little bit about, like, that's just, I haven't really thought about it that way. Can you help me understand what I did that was inappropriate? And, like, because Ruby was like, I'll like them now. How do you think about content relationships? And it's hard to have in the middle of an altercation, which is kind of what's cool, is that if we talk about this outside of an altercation, then we can ask people like Metric, which is what y'all are doing, right? Like, Metric, what makes it hard for you to raid Ruby? And how would you feel about that? And then if Ruby says, it's totally fine, Metric, that's not going to work, right? Because Metric's going to reject it. So instead, we're going to ask, we can provide some reassurance, which is good. But, like, I'm sure we can tell Metric, hey, Metric, it's fine. We love you, man. Like, it's totally cool. Like, we love you for who you are, bro. And it's important for, if that's authentically how Ruby feels, like, we should by all means represent that. But also, I think the more important question is what makes it hard for you? Right? Because we also know, and okay, so like, obviously, like, I'm okay with small people rating me. Like, I don't mind. Like, we got a raid earlier today that I happened to see, which I'm thrilled. So there's Strawberry GS rated us with 4 people. Someone I met at TwitchCon. I was really, really happy about it. One of the rare times I was looking at chat, caught it.
I mean, the fact that anyone wants to trust me with their community doesn't matter if it's one person or whatever. Like it that's amazing. It's just it I just get scared to, I don't know. It's anxiety.
Yeah,
So,
so anxiety, I'm
Yeah.
going to call that an umbrella term, maybe something that we can dig into next week. To end kind of on that note, I've got a question for Zell. What do you think makes, so earlier you were talking about and almost hypothesizing that Ruby, like, it's hard for her to ask for help, right? And Ruby, it's hard for you to ask for help?
Yes, so.
What do you think makes it hard for her to ask for help, Zell?
Oh.
I know I kind of pulled a 180 on you there and shifted topics.
I'm probably just mostly speaking for myself here, but maybe this is true for Ruby as well. But there's a level of self-consciousness when it comes to asking for help. And I think especially in Ruby's case, and also again for myself, is that when you have dealt with a lot of stuff on your own, to then admit that you needed help there feels like it directly goes against all that you have built up in order to protect yourself from the situations that you are currently dealing with, right? So like I think, yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay. Ruby, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I think it's that. And I get like, not to go back to like childhood trauma, but like I'm like childhood trauma. It's a very happy time. I get misunderstood. I don't always, I'm aware of it and I don't know how to change it. I just think I guess it's me. Like a lot of my friends have either autism or ADHD as well, and they understand me. And I made the friends, and then we all slowly got diagnosed, and it was just funny. But yeah, I think it's like fear of being misunderstood, which often has happened and then caused like an explosion kind of like argument or a scene or something. And yeah, that fear, like you've gone so long, so you kind of like, then you just, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can summarize, okay? I'm sorry, Ruby, did you have, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, I was just thinking like, oh, I've been so depressing today. Like, trigger warning again for suicide. The only time like I've actually asked to talk to someone was when I had to tell them I didn't want to live anymore. And that's the only time like I can remember. It was my mum. And that's the only time I can remember being like, I need to ask for some help. And to realize that like it took that to ask for help is like kind of like just proven to me like how long I leave things until I ask for help. But yeah, it's that fear of being misunderstood, and I guess I don't want to be a burden.
Can you relate to that, Zell?
Yes.
Right. So,
Absolutely.
So I'm going to try to summarize. Thank you for sharing, Ruby. So here's what I heard. The first is that Ruby doesn't want to be a burden. Or no, not Ruby. When we ask for help, we don't want to be a burden. That sometimes we also heard that we can be misunderstood. And that when I've asked for help in the past, I did not get what I needed. I did not get what I expected. And in some scenarios, I got really hurt. And then sometimes we get to the point that it's so desperate, right? For all the reasons above. We don't want to be indebted to people. We've done it ourselves. There's also independence to it, right? Like, I've been able to do it so far. And to ask for help in this moment means like I couldn't do it the whole way. I'm supposed to be able to do it on my own because I've come this far. Now, am I talking about Ruby or am I talking about Zell, Metric? Who do you think I'm talking about for all of the above?
Kind of both.
Absolutely. Right? And so now we're going to learn something really, really important, which is that Zell has said, these are the reasons why it's hard for me to ask for help. But I would bet money that what Ruby said applies to, that at some point, and let me know if I'm leaning into the ethnicity too hard, okay? But in my mind, I've just worked with a lot of people who are from South Asia or Southeast Asia and East Asia, and I think it's a very cultural thing. Good little Korean kid asks his parents for help. Good little Indian boy asks his parents for help. Also true of the Nigerian diaspora, also true of a lot of people from Jewish cultures that I've worked with. Also a lot of people from South America, so it's kind of a universal thing. And what do the parents do? Right? So we can use Ruby's insights. We can see on Zell's face, maybe he's having a memory.
There's so much.
So much. Right? So
There's, yeah.
good job, Ruby. That's what we call a critical hit. They don't always look the same. Right? They can be the question that Metric asked, the question that Zell asked, the point that you made. And I don't know that Zell was, there's so much. And do y'all remember what one of my goals for Zell or our goal for Zell is?
Send him off backpacking.
See, he's halfway there with his like, oh, I just discovered I have to learn it. Like he may not need to go. Maybe you can backpack to Ruby's hidden fortress in Portugal. But Zell, I think the last thing that I would encourage you to think a little bit about is what would you tell Ruby? How would you help her ask for help? Because that's what you need, bro. Because my goal for you is by the end of this, I want you to be able to ask for help. And I'll give you a couple of tidbits. When you ask for help, the reason it's hard is because up until this point, you were not aware. So here's kind of like what happens, okay? When I ask for help, or I want to ask for help, or I feel like asking for help, do y'all know, like, you hit this wall. It feels so insurmountable. You're not really sure what it is, but it's like, oh, maybe I need help. And then, no, this gigantic wall arises. It's like a dam. Hundreds and hundreds of feet high. And you're like, no, I ain't going to do that. We ain't going to go over that. Do y'all kind of get what I mean? Like, you just can't ask. And it's not like a logical thing. It's not like I can't ask for this, or this. It's sudden, it's overwhelming, it's overpowering, and it's intractable. No asking for help. Then you go start thinking about something else. Do y'all get what I mean? It's like, it's so precise and so powerful. If you want to ask for help, when that happens, you have to look for the things that we're talking about today. Can I not ask because I'm afraid that I feel like I should be able to do it myself? Can I not ask because in the past when I've asked, people actually haven't helped me? Can I not ask because I don't want to be indebted? And I'm not willing to do that. And as you go through each of those questions, it'll lower the barrier some. And then, Zell, what I want you to do is if you were talking to, I want you to talk to yourself in that moment the way that you've talked to Ruby. And I want you to think about, what would I tell Ruby in that situation? And then I want you to pull a page out of Metric's book. Why can't I do that for myself? What makes it hard for me? And then, if you feel up to it, so now I'm going to use a little bit of a double-edged sword here. So over the next week, actually, I'm going to turn it to the group. Do y'all feel like Zell is ready to ask someone for help over the next week?
Maybe.
I think he's smart enough to get the words and stuff, but does he have the motivation?
Right? We know he's smart.
Yeah. Like, I think he knows what he has to do.
So now we've got an option as group members. So who's responsible for getting Zell to ask for help?
I'm gonna say Zell.
I can ping him every 6 hours on Discord.
Us too, right? We're going to carry that responsibility. We're not going to put it all on him. So now we have to decide, when do we want to hold Zell accountable to this? And I'm assuming that we are going to hold him accountable. But do y'all think he's ready this week? Do we want to ask him to try this week? Or do we want to give him another week to ruminate on this? Like, or we want to try to capitalize on this energy because we think his chances are good? Or do we want to give him a week to grow, maybe 2? Like, how do we feel about that?
He looks genuinely uncomfortable just thinking about it, like right now.
What?
He looks genuinely uncomfortable just thinking about it. Which, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep.
But he doesn't.
And he said he was moving, so I was gonna say like 2 weeks because like he's got stuff to do. Like,
yeah, he's moving. If only there was some way.
He needed help.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like, okay, he's got so much crap
Trying to make
going on.
excuses for Zell.
I don't know. Maybe I missed this part, by the way. Do we want to ask for help in situations where we have a bunch of crap going on and we can't do extra shit? Or do we want to wait until everything is done and then ask for help?
You buy them pizza and beer, and then it's like that. Then they're good.
Indebtedness.
That's all you got to do. Oh shit! You're right. You're right.
Right? No. So that's how we resolve the indebtedness, right? So we buy him pizza and
Right.
beer. That's a great point.
Right.
So what do we think? We want to push him. We want to give him a week. Like, we want to ask him. I was trying to avoid that, but you know, y'all are giving me strong arguments for either one.
Wait, does he have help for moving? Do you have help?
I hired movers.
Okay, good.
I did it myself last time, and it was a lot of work. And so I was like,
Hiring movers isn't quite the same, though, right? So what do y'all think? Do we want to ask him to ask for help this week? Maybe we should ask him. What do you think, Zell? You want to give it a shot? Or you want to wait a week and then check in then?
you know, when Ruby was talking about how, like, to what lengths it took to get me to ask for help, I literally same exact scenario with me in college where I was like borderline wanting to commit suicide, and then I reached out to a therapist at my school who offered, like, you know, free consultation or whatever. It took that length. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, man. I have my whole life story is about how I couldn't ask for help. So this is I don't know if this is solvable for me in a week. So I don't know.
What are y'all hearing from Zell?
I'm exuding nervous energy right now. I know it.
Metric picked up on it.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, as I was sitting there, I was like, this asking for help is deeper than just asking for help moving something. This is a life asking, like, a deeper thing. Like, when you were talking earlier, like, Dr. K, when you were saying, like, that wall comes up and you don't ask for help, I don't know if Zell's got to the same point, but I don't even know that I need to ask for help. It's got to that point, I guess,
Yeah.
that I'm not even aware of that I need to ask for help.
Okay. So I've got
Yeah.
homework for each of y'all. All right. So Zell. Actually, maybe it's the same homework for all y'all. So what we're going to do is pick 5 things that you could ask for help on, even if you don't need to. Because the other big thing we need to learn and realize about asking for help is that necessity doesn't have to be the threshold. Now, metric, if that doesn't resonate with you, I'll give you a separate one, which is what makes it hard for you to raid bigger people.
Okay.
It's your choice. So you can come
Okay.
up with 5 things to ask for help if whichever one resonates. But I feel like with some of the things, you did a fantastic job today, but I feel like we weren't able to support you quite as much this week.
Okay. There's other weeks.
Okay? How does that sound?
Sure.
Other 2 people? Zell? Getting scared?
Yeah.
I know. It's frightening, my love. I know.
What you said there is like that it's like not out of necessity that you can ask for help. I was like, really? That's the thing.
Exactly.
It's like, what?
I thought.
What-
I thought
what
you
do
had
I
to be
need-
packed in a corner, against the wall of hyenas or whatever, and that's when you ask.
Yeah, so just imagine 5 things that you don't have to be backed into a corner for. That it would just be nice if you had a little bit of help. I know it's kind of mind-blowing. Right? But this is
I just want to say, like, when we were talking to Ruby, it almost sounded like she needs a personal assistant. And then she went on about how she doesn't like asking for help. And I was like, well, that just scratched my idea. Like, because, like, that's literally the one thing that sounds like you really need. I mean, not everyone can have one. I get that there's a financial thing and all that stuff. But, like, it almost sounds like with all the things you deal with, a personal assistant or something to that effect, or even someone just to check in on you and see how you're doing day to day without your prompting would be amazing. And then for you, it almost sounds like pulling teeth. So I don't know.
yeah, so play around with it. I'm really happy we were able to, meet this week. Strong work, everyone. And any kind of last closing thoughts before we wrap up for the day? Okay, cool. Are any of y'all streaming, or is this loaded now because with the rating?
I'm streaming, but
Can I raid you or no?
yeah.
Okay.
Sure, why not? Y'all like Batman?
Sure. So let me know when you're live and we'll raid you. And
Okay.
Thank you all very much for coming today. Good luck to all y'all, because it sounds like there's like IRL stuff going on for everybody. And Ruby, especially, take care of yourself, or have someone else take care of you.
I'm good.
No, I'll take care of myself. Nah.
Thank you.
I think Ruby only allows
you.
herself to be cared by things that have 4 legs, is my guess, because that's a whole different ballgame. So, all right, take care, everybody. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right.
Bye.
All righty. Yeah, I know it's wild, chat. I know it's crazy. This sort of, oh my God, that's so red. It's getting dark. Okay. I know it's absolutely insane. This concept, can you ask for help without absolutely needing it? I'm guessing the answer is no for a lot of people out there. So if y'all have been paying attention, I encourage y'all to do the exercise with us. Okay? To think a little bit about why can't you ask for help? Just pick 5 things. Just ask for help on 5 little things. Hey, can you give me a hand with the groceries? Thank you very much. And then, as they kind of say, because asking for help is a way to build relationships, right? But like because then you help with groceries, or that you ask for help with groceries. The next time they're bringing in groceries, oh, let me give you a hand. And if you haven't asked for help, then they're like, oh, no, it's fine, I got it. And they're like, no, let me give you a hand. And then you force your way into giving them a hand, and then they feel indebted. And then it makes things hard. So take the debt first. Sacrifice yourself by taking that guilt. Oh my God. I asked for help. I feel so bad. Right? Y'all get me? So it really is one of the techniques of friendship, actually. So like reciprocal exchange and stuff like that is actually like one of the things that we talk about. Couple of other things. I think a lot of the stuff, if y'all kind of resonated with, there's a lot of good stuff today. Not just in terms of asking for help, but also like, this whole idea of it's so hard to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life. Things are, right? I'm just trying to figure out what metrics Twitch is. Because for some reason, I don't see raid channel metric. Seconds. Oh! Stream Elements is saying talking with Adriana Lee. I don't think we're talking with Adriana Lee. Okay, it's all lowercase. Wait, why can't I raid? What? Huh. We have mods around? I don't know. Does you have? Let's try it. Maybe it's now. Metric. Pick a live channel to raid. There we go. Now it's going. Okay, I got it. I think it... Okay. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. I think we're going to do a call-in stream around burnout, maybe? So I think we're doing call-in stream around burnout, and then we'll maybe do some TikTok reacting and stuff as well. So we'll see y'all later. Take care, everybody. Send Metric some love.